Hello, my name is Greg Fridman. Welcome to my channel. I call it the Journal Club for a second time in a row. Here we review scientific and not so scientific, but mostly scientific papers to try to learn something new. And today's paper is way outside of my technical capabilities, but it's really cool. The title caught my attention. Poor writing, not specialized concepts, drives processing difficulty in legal language. Aha, someone agrees with me. So this paper is very recent, 2022, in a journal called Cognition, published by the group from MIT Brain and Cognitive Sciences and Institute for Language out of University of Edinburgh. Very cool. Very interesting. It is a lengthy paper. Let's summarize it, and then you guys can log off if you want. But don't forget to subscribe and click the like button, and you know what to do. So, despite their ever-increasing presence in everyday life, contracts remain notoriously inaccessible to lay people. Why? Have you ever read a contract and just didn't get what they're trying to say? Had to reread the sentence 3 times and still you were left with questions? Well, I have. I guess maybe I read too many contracts. But regardless, these findings suggest that processing difficulties result largely from working memory limitations imposed by long-distance synthetic dependencies, always known as poor writing, as opposed to a mere lack of specialized knowledge. So it's not you, it's them. And this paper also makes suggestions about editing out problematic features of legal texts. Yeah, so summary of this paper, very simple. Legal writing is purposely very difficult. It could be fixed, but it's not you, it's them. So let's dig into this. Contracts such as online terms of service, blah, 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 blah. Contracts are very difficult to read and they don't compare well to plain English. By the way, this paper is quite interesting, easy to read. I found it enjoyable. I'll leave link down in the description below, along with all the rest of the information about this paper, as usual. I haven't thought about this. So Miranda warnings, those I believe are the warnings that police officers have to read to you as they're arresting you. They provide crucial information to criminal suspects in police custody. The majority of individuals' contact with legal language takes place outside of that context, right? So you're sitting in the room, quietly trying to read a contract, and you just give up. You haven't had your coffee. Yeah, contracts and other private-facing documents. Let's take the following example from a typical contract. In the event that any payment or benefit by the company, all such payments and benefits, including the payments and benefits under the Section 3A hereof, being hereinafter referred to as total payments, would be subject to excise tax. Then the cash severance payments shall be reduced. What? I'm not sure what I just read. Short-term memory failing. Yeah, long-distance syntactic dependencies. Poor writing. Yeah, these structures are notoriously difficult to process. Contracts are also reportedly laden with other properties associated with increased processing demands, including low-frequency jargon, aforesaid, hereinafter, and to wit, passive voice constructions, and non-standard capitalization. Yeah, well, I'm okay with capitals, but the rest of it, I still don't know hereinafter, what that means. I guess from this point on, right? So hereinafter, I shall refer to my channel as a journal club. I'm just calling it journal club. That's it. Simple as that. Consistent with previous literature, we find that each of the complex psycholinguistic properties reportedly common in contracts, such as center embedding, low-frequency jargon, passive voice, and non-standard capitalization, were strikingly more common in contracts relative to every genre of standard English that we compared it with. So contracts have these problems way more frequent than any other normal writing. Authors did a lot of analysis. I'm not doing them justice reading this on YouTube real quick with a couple of highlights. If you're interested in the subject, download the paper, review it. So their materials that they use to analyze legal writing and compare it to normal writing. So they got contracts from some database. I don't know if that's a firm or I don't know what that is. But regardless, it's about 1 million words they got, given that a typical book is about 100,000 words. So this is 10 books worth of legal gibberish. And an additional set of contracts of 2.5 million words from another database of court documents. They compared it to about 5 million words of Wall Street Journal articles. Wall Street Journal is kind of specialized. They also compare it to 10 million words of TV, movie scripts, spoken language, newspaper articles, blogs, magazine articles, and other stuff. Cool. That's 100 books. Is my math right? 1 million is 10 books, and this is 10 million. Yeah, that's 100 books. So their sample size seems to be pretty significant. And they do a lot of analysis. Capitalization, word frequency, word choice, center embedding, which is one of the problems the authors identify in legal writing, active-passive voice use, and the results. Yeah, this graph. It's kind of cool. Word capitalization, legal, or percent of word capitalization. Legal hovers around between 3 and 3.5%. It's higher than anybody else. Academic, blog, fiction, magazine, newspaper, web, Wall Street Journal. Average word frequency. So this is how often words appear. Low. So they use a lot of different words, I guess. Anyway, that's cool. Oh yeah, and then TV movies repeat the same word. So their vocabulary is the lowest. There you have it. Okay? Movies use fewer words than spoken. The newspaper, academic, the boring academic writing, and legal is even worse. Cool. Percent of center embedded sentences. Legal is 70%. No wonder we can't understand it. Like TV movies, around 10% of center embedded sentences. And passive sentences. Of course, legal is, between 12 and 15%. It's very, very high. Passive voice is barely used. It's used in academic writing, yes, but barely used in real life, and definitely not in the movies. They're all action-oriented. Following this analysis, they actually did some more experimental work where the authors attempted to analyze to what extent the presence of these features in contracts inhibited comprehension and recall of legal content. Comprehension and recall. I guess that's what's important, right? So how did they do that? They created 12 pairs of short contract excerpts of roughly 150 words each. And this is provided in a supplemental document. First 12 excerpts were constructed in a standard legalese register by the first author, a lawyer, who modeled the content and form of the materials after common naturalistic contracts. So the author purposely made them bad, I guess. And there is a breakdown of different types. I don't think it's as important as the findings. So I guess authors performed a pilot study, see appendix, and they found that 100 participants would provide sufficient statistically significant outcome. Participants first completed 3 trials and were only allowed to complete the experiment if their comprehension was above chance performance. In total, we recruited 186 participants for first half, but we only retain 108 participants who completed the entire experiment for our analysis. So 108 people. All participants self-identified as native English users. And the authors ran 6 trials, 3 legalese and 3 simple. And this trial consisted of reading an excerpt, subset of art. We'll talk about art in a second. Recalling what you just read and answering comprehension questions. The art component is the participants were given names of 50 individuals and were asked to select which names corresponded to real authors. I'm not sure if I fully understand what this art is, but the finding appears to me curious. So let's look at that. The authors look at comprehension, recall, exploring effect of linguistic structures. Let's look at the data. Legalese, green, compared to simple, purple. So if we look at comprehension accuracy with delay, there is a difference in comprehension accuracy between legalese and simple. But the difference is not as huge as the authors led me to believe. I agree with the issues they point out, but I don't know. No delay. Again, we see the same thing, but comprehension accuracy is a little better, it seems like. And this no delay, I believe, is when the participants were allowed to review the text. Again, I'm probably making lots of mistakes, giving you a general overview of this. Take a close read of this yourself if you're interested. And proportion of text recalled, again, legalese not as well as simple, but generally about the same. The art score, the way I understand it, you're given 60 names and asked if they're real or not. So minus 60, you guessed everything wrong. Plus 60, you guessed everything right, or you remembered everything right. And looks to me like it's just about, they're about as many dots at minus 30 as at plus 30. Okay, maybe a little less. I don't know. I'm not convinced this means too much. And I think the authors go in to say that it doesn't. Yeah, I found this interesting, the replication study. In real-world scenarios involving legal documents, lay people may not always be forced to remember the content of a legal document without having it directly in front of them. People may also plausibly be more motivated to understand the content of a legal document if there are real-world financial or legal stakes that depend on that understanding. To test if either of these factors might mitigate the observed results in our main experiment, we conducted a replication experiment of our comprehension result with 2 key deviations. First, instead of answering comprehension questions without a text in front of them, participants were given a legal text along with all of the comprehension questions. Cool. So they had the text in front. Second, participants were given an additional monetary incentive if they correctly answered at least 90% of comprehension checks. Cool. So this is getting more real. As in our original experiment, we find that a main effect of register on comprehension, with participants scoring significantly lower on text written in legalese as compared to the text written in simple register. Numbers. So even when the text is in front of you and you have monetary incentive to get 90% of comprehension checks right, still there is a difference between comprehension of a standard normal text and legalese. The authors go into detailed discussion of their findings, which can be summarized simply as following. The fact that contracts contain a stunningly high proportion of features that incur processing difficulty in laypeople that can be feasibly replaced with easier to process alternatives underscores the importance for efforts to simplify legal language, not to neglect private legal documents. Well, that was cool. Well, I really enjoyed reviewing this paper with you. I hope you did as well. I hope I raised more questions, which please feel free to ask in a comment section down below. I found the study interesting, and the challenge that the authors bring up is curious. I'm not the only one who finds contracts difficult, and there's a reason for that. They can be written better. So can many things. So let's keep on rocking and trying to make the world more awesome every day. Peace out.